I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Academic Standards Committee for March 28th. Miriam McKee chairing the meeting. Let's go around and introduce ourselves.
Julie Eastburn, District Coordinator for Mathematics. Andrea Houston-Lingman, Curriculum Coordinator for English Language Arts Middle and High School.
Dean Hens, Social Studies Coordinator, K-12.
Lynn Young, World Language Coordinator. Renee Devlin, Science Coordinator. Skylar Jackson, Business Computers and Information Technology Coordinator.
Matt Butters, IT Director.
Sue Elliott, Assistant Superintendent.
Andy Sanko, Administrator on Special Assignment.
Barry Desso, Director K-12 Education.
Ed Salomon, School Board.
Thank you. And joining us by phone is Krista Marcel. Mrs. Marcel, are you with us?
I am. Good evening.
Thank you. We have two agenda items tonight. The first is textbook adoption. The second is going to be an update on our technology program. We're going to begin with Dr. Elliott. Will you take us through the textbook approvals, please?
Certainly. So we have a variety of textbooks tonight. I'm going to turn over to our different curriculum coordinators. They will introduce the books that are coming before the board for approval. And Marian, if you'd like to, we can, after each textbook, get a sense from board if there's consensus on approving that particular book as we move through each one. And then we'll see if we have a group at the end and we can just move them all to the consent agenda at the next board meeting. Does that work?
That does. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to start with some language arts books with Andrea Houston-Lingman.
All right, thank you very much for having us here. For the individuals who are at home listening, I'm just going to read to you what we have on the slide for I Am Malala, which we are asking for approval for our 8th grade English language arts courses. This text will be used as directed reading with time for reading both in and out of school. There will be opportunities for whole group discussions as well as cooperative work. Student study guides and materials have already been created as this text was piloted in the spring of 2018 at Newtown Middle School. We're looking for enough copies to be spread out amongst the students in the 2 different middle schools, and I can certainly say that it's been a very popular piece, especially with this particular author and the various endeavors that we've been looking at in enriching our middle school curriculum. I do have a middle school teacher and department coordinator with me as well, so if we have any questions about how the students took to the novel and the activities that were done and anything along those lines, we can certainly attest to first-person experience.
Great.
Any questions about this particular book?
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Glad we got free shipping too.
Always free shipping, always look for the deal. So the next one, we had mentioned these 2 titles in the fall when we had asked for approval for our new course, Multicultural Literature. So these are the 2 titles that had been mentioned at that time. So the first book of the 2 that we're looking for approval for is The Joy Luck Club. This novel provides a look at Chinese culture through the eyes of 4 women. It provides students with perspective of viewing and understanding another culture by reading the words of its people, not just in historical perspective. The female voice, the Chinese cultural perspective are 2 things that will enhance this particular course as we create it. Again, we do have 2 teachers here, one from North, one from South, who both agree that this would be a great addition to this new course as they build it. And we would be looking for just enough copies for each course to run at each building.
Any questions about this book?
Good.
I just have a quick, it is, I was just going to ask if it was a paperback or hardback that we're purchasing.
Hardback. I looked at permabound specifically for the durability.
Exactly. Good. Thank you. And I just want to note that Dr. Thorwart has just joined us. Thank you. And I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you. And then the second book for our newly approved elective multicultural literature is Chronicle of the Death Foretold. This novel provides an interesting look through a mystery format of individuals with different cultural backgrounds. It provides students with perspective of viewing and understanding another culture by reading the words of the people through literature versus the perspective of a recorder of history. This also was translated from Spanish. Just ask that to you as well. So again, a very different perspective than the previous book that we had included for this new course. And again, we've got the teachers here who specifically selected these particular novels thinking that that would be a very different way of looking at material that they could select from for this particular new course.
Any questions about this book?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Andrea, thank you.
Thank you.
And teachers, thank you for coming tonight to be prepared to answer any questions. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I believe we're moving on to science next with Renee Devlin, our science coordinator.
Good evening, everyone. The first book I'm going to present is a book for accelerated forensic science, and it's a semester course. The book is used all year for semester 1 and semester 2. The reason we looked at purchasing a new book is because our online student subscription is running out this fall. So we love the book that we currently have. We're hoping to purchase the new edition of the book, and we were able to get a 7-year online subscription for this one. What's new in this book, and Matt might like this, is there are cyber crimes, which were not in our old book, and also crimes about social media. There's also an 1842 cold case study from murder at Old Fields that was not in our old book, that threads throughout each chapter, and the students, it's still an unsolved crime, and they debate and figure out, find evidence along the way, and at the end of each semester, come up with what their rationale for how the crime was committed.
Okay. Any questions about this one?
Yeah, real quick one, and
Yes.
it's easy. I'm seeing
Sure.
60 books. How popular is this class?
There are up to 2 sections at each high school. However, I'm glad you brought this up, because this was the first book that I purchased that we, since it's mostly for seniors, 11th graders can take it as an elective. The kids don't take the books home unless they really want to. We only bought a class set.
Okay, no, but
Right,
it's a
so it was
fairly
the first
popular
one,
class.
and we
That's what
weren't
it
sure
is.
how that was going to go. So maybe 2 or 3 kids in each class, because I did poll the teachers, asked to really take the book home. But for the past 6 or 7 years, maybe it's 8 years, I forget how long we had it. So all online, and they use it in class.
Great. Any other questions?
So the online complements the book or is the book as well?
The online
Okay.
complements the book with virtual labs and things like that they could do, resources, links, etc.
Great.
Teacher can get homework from the book as well.
Snow days. Good job.
Yeah, all right.
That's right.
Thank you. Next one.
Honors Anatomy and Physiology is again for 11th and 12th grade science elective course. Both the teachers at North and South, Alan Nickel and Kathleen Brennan, both piloted the book. It comes with, included in the price is also a supplemental lab book that goes along with the book. The book has beautiful, phenomenal graphics. I wish that the art coordinator was here, because they are just, they have something called smart art graphics that I didn't know of before. And when you click on those, they really take you right into the muscle of whatever you're dissecting, neurotransmitters. They have audio links and things that our other book does not have. It starts off, a big part of that course is clinicals, and each chapter starts with an updated clinical, and it also talks about careers.
Any questions about this book?
No.
No? Okay.
And the last book of the evening is 12th grade academic physics book. A teacher from North and South also piloted the book. It's hard to find really good physics books, and the book it's replacing is from 1992. So it is time. And the book we found, because we've been looking for a couple of years, has really good links, resources, follows our curriculum. It's an academic course, and the readability comes back as college, but it is appropriate for all levels of high school with teacher resources. But the current book is really old. With nothing online, nothing about engineering, nothing about careers. The beginning of each chapter in this book starts off with a physicist and her contribution to engineering. And
I'm
society.
glad you noted the age, just because there will be people thinking physics hasn't changed. And
Well,
they'd be right to a certain extent, however, the delivery of physics education has, and you've gotten your money's worth out of the last batch. So,
I hope so.
yeah, so.
Any questions about this book? All right. So that concludes science, and we move on to business computers and information technology with Shiloh.
Okay, hi. So we are starting an exciting new program next year with dual enrollment. And honors marketing is one of our courses that will be dual enrollment next year. And our textbooks are actually over 10 years old, and they're very out of date. The examples are out of date, and it's hard for the students to relate to it because the examples and so forth are just not current. So we did try to, over the past 2 years, replace this textbook, but we were unable to find a book with readability. They were all college level. And then we found this textbook, which we loved, and it also is the same textbook that Gwynedd Mercy University is using. And it's one of their requirements that we use the same book as them if we're going to do dual enrollment. And thankfully it worked out that the teachers all felt that this is a very appropriate book. The examples that they use are very geared towards our level of students that the students will connect with. And it follows along with the framework that we have set up for the class. So we were really happy with finding this book.
Any questions about this one?
I just want to say again, I'm just so pleased that we have that partnership with Gwynedd Mercy. Such a great thing for our students.
Absolutely.
We are very excited, and we are very excited about the dual enrollment, and we appreciate the support.
Excellent. All right. And we're on to math.
So I have 2 books for approval. The first one is an algebra book that we will use in honors and accelerated. Our honors algebra 1 is predominantly an 8th grade class, and our accelerated algebra 1 is a 9th grade class. Again, it kind of goes along with what Mr. Thorwart said, that mathematics certainly hasn't changed, but our previous book was from 2003 with original copyrights of first editions in the 80s, and was very computation-based. So this new textbook provides a richer problem-solving experience for students, richer critical thinking kinds of activities for students. Obviously, since the book was so old, there was no online component, and there's now an online component involved for the textbook. And this book was piloted at each middle school and each high school by a teacher in each school. And they found that they liked the layout of the book better, the way the concepts are presented, and they also found that the problem-solving and critical thinking activities were much better and will better prepare students to meet the rigors of the Keystone Standards.
I'll ask, you don't have to answer. Who piloted it at the middle schools?
It was Kendall Douglas and Pam Christensen.
Just out of curiosity, no?
Any other questions? All right, another math.
And then that brings us to accelerated statistics. Again, our accelerated statistics book has a 1993 copyright. Renee beats me by a year. Statistics certainly hasn't, the math behind it hasn't changed, but the opportunities for students to see real life application of statistics certainly has progressed through the years, and this book is a much better resource for more up-to-date problems that students can relate to. Some of the older books. The older book has some problems with VHS tapes and things that students don't even know what that is. It's a whole nother lesson. So it just provides a much more up-to-date resource for students and for teachers. It has cut down on trying to scramble to find more examples that are real world for students. This book was piloted just at South. With the consent of the teacher that teaches it over at North, because we only have 2 teachers that teach it, the publisher wasn't willing to let all of our students pilot a book for a year, given the cost. But the teacher at North has looked at the book, has conversed with the pilot teacher at South, and is comfortable with the textbook moving forward.
And there's no online component to this?
There is not an online. There's a little bit of online access, but not this is a college textbook, so it limits doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a high school textbook has.
Any other questions? So before we move on to the next, just want to let you know that you're going to see Julie again in May. We have one other textbook for approval, which is our new elementary math program that the elementary math committee will be making a decision on in April. They've been piloting 2 different programs this year, and they'll make that decision in April. And then at our academic standards meeting in May, Julie and some of the members of that committee will be coming to present the program that they're recommending for approval and purchase for our new elementary math, which would be K through 5. So we're going to dedicate more of a night of academic standards to that, because an elementary math program has a lot more components and it's multiple grades, so it's a bit more involved. So yes, and it is a bigger ticket item as well. So you will see Julie again in the very near future. So
I do have one quick question. I recognize that many of these books are out of date, but what happens with our old textbooks? Is any way to repurpose them or use them? How are they disposed of if they are?
There's a district procedure policy. I'm not sure which one it is.
So whenever we have a textbook that we want to dispose of, we first, we get a list of all those textbooks from the coordinators, and then we reach out to several vendors who buy books back and see if they would buy any of those books from us. And whatever they buy, they come and they pick up. And those that they don't buy, sometimes we have the opportunity to donate them to another school if they want them. However, when you look at some of the dates on these, like you take Renee's book, for example, in 1992, really you're not going to find another school district that's going to want that book. So then they end up not being repurposed for any other use.
Is there a cost involved for those books that cannot be repurposed?
As far as disposal, you just dispose of them.
Okay.
Recycle them.
Renee, make sure we recycle them.
I don't know. My physics book at home is probably older than what you throw away. And it still works.
Well, maybe you would like a new one.
No.
So
But yeah, I mean,
it's 1992.
it is. I graduated twice, and that was it. It is really something to see how they do manage to donate and use an awful lot of books.
Yeah,
I expected so, but that's good to hear and have it on the record. Thank you.
absolutely. All right, on to, I believe, social studies.
Sure. So this is the title that our entire grade 6 class will use over all 10 elementaries. The title is World History, Great Civilizations. The publisher is Cengage in association with National Geographic. We did a 2-year pilot at 3 of the elementary schools at Hillcrest, Holland Elementary, and Richborough Elementary. The second point I want to make is that the content of the book correlates with our current curriculum in scope and sequence, and in some cases in chapter titles. And it's supported by PDE standards. Another point is this is the textbook that was approved last year for 7th grade. So our 6th and 7th grade programs are both world history. The pilot, the information we got back from the pilot is that this would be appropriate use for 6th graders. So that transition from 6th to 7th grade, this is going to make that a little bit more friction-free. When students get to 7th grade in the middle schools, they're going to see a lot of new things, but the social studies book and the social studies platform won't be one of them. So, the resources that come with the textbook, there's the print book. For the students, when they access the textbook digitally, they have the ability to change the readability. They have audio and video that are embedded into the textbook, so the textbook, if it can be read to the student as well. As far as savings for this, the bundle that comes with the textbook is a 6-year license. The Cengage extended that for 2 years gratis, which we're excited about. The professional development, they threw in gratis as well. And last year, when we adopted this for the middle schools, it was just 2 shipping sites, and they gave us free shipping for that. They were also willing to do free shipping for all 10 elementary schools as well. So we're excited about that, and this will give us a little bit of efficiency and scalability with this textbook being used in both grades. A lot of expertise out in the district when it comes to using new resources.
Any questions?
Okay, last but not least, we have German 2, Deutsch as well, Volume 2, and we implemented Volume 1 this year for our German 1 students. It was piloted 2 years ago by our German teachers. This is actually the book that we used prior. We just got the updated version. It has a lot of online activities, which are especially important in the world language classroom. There's interactive activities. There's a component of it called iCulture. As you can see, it allows students to take virtual tours of German-speaking countries, watch vignettes, hear young German people speaking in German, and learn a lot about the culture in addition to the vocabulary and grammar, which is really essential if the student wants to go up to AP, because the AP course that we teach is language and culture, where the students have to be proficient and know and make cultural references throughout the exam. So the fact that the world language textbooks now have a really focus on cultural relevance and updated cultural relevance is fantastic. So the teachers enjoyed using the level 1 book this year. We're going to continue with level 2 if it's approved, and then hopefully we usually go 1, 2, 3 before we get into the upper levels, which involve more authentic literature.
Any questions? All right, well, this was our last textbook for approval, so I want to thank all the coordinators for coming out tonight and the other teachers that were here. And, you know, there's a lot of work that they do and put in ahead of this meeting with reviewing, carefully looking at materials, really thinking about the alignment to standards in our curriculum, evaluating books in many different ways, and really thinking carefully and getting that feedback from teachers with the text as well and the resources that come with it. So it's a lot of time that they put into all of this work that they present in a matter of a couple minutes in a few slides. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
And if I could just piggyback
Yes.
and also say thank you very much. And if you would pass on our thanks to the teachers who piloted. I know that that can be a challenge. So thank you for sharing that. It is. So thank you.
It's a lot of work.
So we're going to transition to our next presentation. So we have a couple people that are going to be exiting, and
I can't even, like, that is seriously, I don't even. Thanks.
thanks a lot.
We didn't plan that. You did not. We look like twins. Hey, Matt.
You guys have a seat.
Matt, can I plug those in?
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo.
I was supposed to bring one.
All right, we're going to transition to our second presentation for the evening. And we have with us tonight our elementary and our middle school technology integration specialists. And what we're doing tonight is, this is an informational presentation, just give the board an update on year 2 of our technology plan. So moving forward with that, we really want to, first of all, thank the board for your support of our technology plan. You know, that included increasing access with devices in our classrooms, as well as the important component of professional development and support for teachers. You know, we know from, you know, experiences in other districts, and when you read research on any kind of support for teachers and professional development, when you can provide job-embedded support for teachers with whether it's new technology, materials, new teaching strategies, that job embedded support is really what's most effective. So we're really thankful that the board has supported the tech integration specialists at our elementary school for the last 2 years, and then this year at our middle school. And really, when you read the quote that's there about when, you know, tech integration is at its best, it's really where people aren't really thinking anymore about using it as a tool. It just becomes part of their repertoire, and that's something that I think you'll hear tonight, that transition is happening in our classrooms. So just a review of what our goals were for our tech plan. So the first 3 listed here for equity of access and increasing access at the elementary, middle, and high school. When we start school next year with year 3 of our plan, increasing the devices at the high school, we'll have reached those 3 goals of our tech plan. And the second 2, or the fourth and fifth, excuse me, points here of our goals, you know, providing teachers with that support, that is an ongoing thing that we're doing with our tech integration specialists. And really our goal was to make it real-time job embedded, which is something that we really focus on with our technology integration specialists. This just gives you a quick snapshot of the years and what we're doing in each year. So 17, 18, and 18, 19, we had the focus at the elementary level with first the devices, and then we had laptops for our teachers, and then also we had the tech integration specialists. Then we have an overlap this year, 18, 19, with having elementary and middle school. And then next year we'll have an overlap with middle school and high school. So we'll have our 2 tech specialists continuing at the middle school, and at the board meeting last week in personnel, we approved the 2 high school tech integration specialists. So they will be with us next year and hopefully the year after that as well with our budget. So thinking about what the tech integration specialists do, and they're going to get into a little bit more detail when they share with you some of their data and information tonight. But they really serve as coaches. They're, you know, really providing on-the-spot professional development and helping teachers in so many different ways. And there's a list of some of those ways up there. You know, some demonstration, they do co-teaching. They're coming in and co-planning with someone. They give teachers good constructive feedback and help with ideas that they have about ways to incorporate technology and enhance student learning. One of the points of our work that our tech specialists have been doing is the integration of our Council Rock education technology standards. And they integrate that seamlessly into the work they do with teachers when they're talking and co-planning together and helping teachers see how what they're doing is actually applying those standards in the classrooms. And of course, they're constantly assessing the learning needs of staff, whether it's through some more formal measures such as a survey, or informally when they're meeting with teachers, getting feedback, talking with principals. They really use that information. They share that with both Matt and with me as we continue to help them and support our continued work with this plan. You'll see also tonight numbers related to the amount of professional development workshops and things that they've facilitated. They've done things both at the district level as well as at individual buildings. And of course, they provide a lot of information and updates to both me and Matt throughout this whole process and implementation of our plan so that we can support and help with any challenges and always celebrate all those great successes that we're having. So I'm going to turn it over to the middle school gentleman first, and they'll share a little bit about year 1 at the middle school.
Hi, I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. Thanks for the chance to share some of our successes this year at the middle school and at the elementary school as far as tech goes. This is my 21st year teaching, and this past year has obviously been a bit different than the previous 20, but really no less rewarding. We've been able to reach upwards towards 10,000 students. One of the ways that we are able to integrate technology, probably the most I would say, is through the use of the Chromebooks. And if you take a look at these stats, this is a graph from September and then just recently in February. And I want to, all categories are trending in the right direction, but I want to really point out the green. 38.9% of our teachers at the middle school level were rarely or never using Chromebooks in September, and that's now down to 6.5%. That's a difference of 32.4%, and that 6.5% really is really more due to the curricular areas such as phys ed, music. So we're really quite proud of our teachers for really jumping in and taking risks. Now, when teachers are signing us out, they can sign us out in 22-minute increments, and these are generally the categories that they fall into: IT support, observation, co-teaching, and planning. The IT support really fell within the first month to 2 months with the new schools and new technology, and we were just kind of another helping hand. But as you can see, the majority of our time really falls in co-teaching and planning, and that's where I feel that we are really at our best when we're able to do that with teachers.
Thank you. My name is Matt McCarthy. This is my 6th year teaching. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm just trying to think here. I student talk Jack in 2012, so that's about right. 6 years sounds about on the money there. When we have those 22-minute appointments, can't make this stuff up. When we have those 22-minute appointments, what do we do after we're done? Sometimes they last for one appointment, maybe they're 2 back to back, we take a whole prep period. Jack and I go back and we analyze what was accomplished in it. Whether it was a co-teaching planning time, or whether it was kind of just getting some advice, they want to see something in observation. What did we really accomplish within that focus? So what we have up here on the screen is our focus and the breakdown of what's being accomplished within that time frame. A lot of these topics we split up into 4: Chromebooks and apps, curriculum integration, assessment, and then technology involving PLCs and professional development. A lot of these actually are double dip. So in a 22-minute session, we may be talking Chromebooks and apps because our teachers need a little bit of training on that. But then we're going right into curriculum integration. Okay, we understand how to use some Google Apps. How can we best utilize this in the classroom to assist your students? Our teachers do a phenomenal job of raising assessment for help with their PLCs, so that instant data collection, they meet weekly. They already have it there, it's right in their hands. It's not grading the tests manually and bringing that back. The data is right there in front of them, ready for them to share. So that's a nice big focus of ours. And then of course, curriculum integration. Curriculum integration may be using the Google Apps within the classroom, but more frequently than not, it's something else. It could be some other Web 2.0 technologies like Flipgrid, Padlet. We've been working with some augmented reality and virtual reality in the middle schools the last couple of weeks. So incorporating that into lessons and seeing how it can really benefit our students. Yes, sir?
Maybe it's for Jack. The previous slide, is that related to middle school or is that across the school district?
That was middle school. You will see in elementary
Previous
the
slide?
same information.
You're going to see elementary soon.
I'm sorry. Okay. You mentioned you did elementary too.
I taught our general, you're going to see elementary in a few minutes. Yeah.
I have a question too. Planning part, is that more of what that consists of? Is that where you were planning in the previous slide? What was planning?
Planning is one of the types of meetings that we have. So when we sit down with the teacher, they're able to tell us a little bit about what they want to do. And they may tell us that, let's sit down and let's plan a lesson to incorporate technology. So we'll sit, we'll talk through a couple of these topics here. A couple of those topics within that. So planning may encompass a number of those pieces as well. But the data we have here is only as good as the questions we had asked, so we wanted to make sure that our teachers had an opportunity to kind of focus and talk about, what are we doing, provide some anecdotal information. So across the results that we got, we noticed a number of different themes that kept popping up. There were very frequently that the help that Jack and I are providing is extremely useful to them. That they've been incorporating flip lessons where they are designing some video tutorials for the kids to watch as homework, and then they're ready to come in for the lesson the next day. And the teachers are able to identify who's struggling, who needs help, who's ready to keep moving on. We've also been able to provide, according to the teachers, a lot of different strategies and tools that incorporate technology to really help them along the way and best benefit their students. And to go with that, we do have a couple of quotes that we have pulled out from teachers at both buildings across the curricular areas. The emphasis that you see there in bold, that is the emphasis that we provide. Now, not to be outdone, of course, I'm going to pass it down to ladies at the elementary level.
Thank you. All right. So all the next graphs and charts and data that you're about to see are from the elementary level. So thank you for having us again. We also you'll see some of the information we're going to talk about comparing it to last year as well. So we'll start up here. So just like last year, we were so fortunate to come back for another year in this position. And in the beginning of the year, we met with every principal across all 10 elementary schools, in addition to every grade level team at every elementary school, to establish the goals and have teachers tell us, what are the expectations? How would you like to incorporate technology in your classroom this year? So that they could then mirror their building goal from their principal. And then we sent out beginning of the year surveys and mid-year surveys, both last year and this year. So you'll see some of the data up on the screen. We really want to highlight that last year, in the beginning of the year, we had 9% of teachers that they were using Chromebooks 3 to 5 days a week, with 32% 1 to 2 days a week. And then the largest percentage was 48% were rarely or never using Chromebooks in their classroom. So you can see the middle graph is what we shared at this time last year at the board meeting. And then now this year at our mid-year technology survey that we sent out to staff, the last graph all the way to the right is what we're seeing. So we're happy to report that there was, if you look at the 3 to 5 days a week, there was a 50% increase in the use of technology, which we really commend our teachers for. That is amazing. And then you can see that 28% are still using it 1 to 2 days a week. And as Jack had mentioned too, our teachers that were in that 6% for the rarely to never category really said that that fell to the nature of the curriculum, depending on, like, it was mostly special area subjects where they might use it, every so often, but not as frequent as other subject areas might lend themselves to.
I would argue that even 1 to 2 days a week, some of that could be subject to.
Right,
I don't think that's a bad number.
Absolutely.
Well, and keep in mind too, our access at the, we have a 1 to 2 ratio. Now, we know in some of our elementary schools, some of the PTOs have invested in purchasing more Chromebooks, but in most cases, having a 1 to 2 ratio means that it's not going to be possible for you to use technology every single day. And we think about, technology as a tool for learning. Their kids should not be spending every single moment of their day in school on technology, using that. It's not always the right tool for every type of learning.
I'm sorry, just for my clarification, when do we go to 1 to 2? 18?
In the fall of 2017 was our first year of our plan, where we made sure we had the same access at all 10 of our elementary schools for a 1 to 2 ratio.
And then before that, other schools had, like some schools had Chromebooks or other technology that they had in their building, but as Sue mentioned, the equity of access amongst all elementary schools was, so that's when we wanted to reflect that up there. Yep. And then if you look at this next graph, so we're really proud to say that we've had about 1,000 appointments to date, and that was about where we were at last year as well. So what we did was we broke down for you, this is the percentage of those 1,000 appointments and what they consist of. So that could be a planning appointment, again, similar to what our middle school specialist said. That's when we really, the teachers will sign up for us to come in during like a prep time or in the morning or after school, and we'll sit down and plan a lesson that has to do with technology and the curriculum. And then co-teaching is where we'll come in and then teach a lesson to the students. And we've really been focusing on, in that co-teaching block, it might start off where we're more modeling, and then throughout the year as we go into their classrooms more, we hope that the teachers feel more comfortable teaching on their own. And then when they do, then they end up signing us out for something else to learn, which is really great. So we're really happy to see that as well. And then the observation piece was really if they just say, hey, I planned this really great lesson, I want you to come in and see it. And then we get excited for that too, because then we can see what they planned on their own and what they're doing with their students. And then we can go ahead and bring that to the other elementary schools. Since Hannah and I are both in 5 elementary schools, if we have a teacher come in and say, this is what I planned with my Chromebook, this goes with the curriculum, when we meet with other teachers in that same grade level, we're able to share and say, hey, this is what somebody at this school was doing. You might want to try this if this works best for you. And really all of these appointments vary based on the teacher and student needs. So what works for one class might not work for another and vice versa. So we're happy to say that, people are signing us out for according to their own needs that met with their overall arching goal that has to do with technology. So we're very excited about that.
Can I ask a quick
Yeah.
question? In the lessons that teachers have planned, there used to be, and I assume there still is, a venue for teachers to share across the district, to post it somewhere and have other teachers access. I'm teaching the same math lesson. Here's something you might want to use. Is there a way for teachers to do that?
Absolutely. So Hannah's going to go over the workshops that we've done, but for the elementary schools, we had representatives from every elementary building come in and they created a team drive for their grade level with every single subject area so that everyone has access to those team drives. So if they created something to do with language arts, they can drop it in that folder, and they had the chance to do that earlier this year in December.
Do you have a comparable slide from the 2 previous years to these statistics?
I'm sorry.
Do you have the same type of slide from 2018?
I have it with me from last year. Let me see. Last year we had a lot of different things. We had our planning was 57% planning, 42% co-teaching, and 1% observation.
They're moving in the right
Was
direction.
from
Well, and I think to the point, when you look at this appointment purpose, and I think Danielle kind of alluded to this as well, the planning shifts. So in the beginning, when they were helping teachers plan, it was a lot more of hand-holding and let me help you, walk you through how you do this, where now the planning is changed to, now teachers are much more comfortable, so it's a little bit more of, like, what are some new ideas? What are some new ways I can do things, as opposed to, I've never done this before, can you help me? I don't know what I'm doing. So you have to, be aware of, while that category, the percentages may not have changed drastically, what's happening during that time period from last year to this year is very different than it was in the previous year.
Because there's some newer folks over on this side of it. Would you say what I witnessed was a co-teaching?
Yes.
If you get a chance, these ladies would love for you to come in and see it. I highly recommend you see this in action. It is really amazing to see. And some of the challenges of teaching, I got to see first graders. Teaching first graders who can't read, and how technology is really something to see. So I would highly encourage you, it becomes an event for the school, so be careful with that. But I think it behooves you to see it in action once.
Thank you.
And these ladies would love to have it. So and I'm
As
sure
would
you
Matt
gentlemen,
Jack as well, yeah.
well, you're next on my list.
Absolutely. And we're just, again, like, we can't say enough how proud we are of our teachers, because the willingness to take risks and try new things, is, that's scary and hard, and they've just been so willing to try new things and to just dive right in. So we're really appreciative of that as well. And then on our next slide here, we have the appointment focus. So of those planning, co-teaching, and observation appointments, this narrows it down even more as to what are those consisting of. So as Matt was saying, with the middle school graphs, some of these might double dip. Like, we might go into a classroom that has to do with integration of some sort of curricular area, but we might also be assessing in that technological tool that we're using as well. So that first percentage, the 5% of an introduction to the Chromebook and apps, we're actually happy that number is very small, because that's really just a basic introduction. So for example, when Hannah and I will go into the elementary schools, into specifically kindergarten and first grade classrooms, and they're signing onto the Chromebook for the first time, which is it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a long process. That would be an introductory lesson plan. So last year, again, the numbers are usually higher in the beginning of the year, and then as the year goes on, that percentage, shrinks down because everything else around it gets larger, just, due to the natural progression of how things work throughout the year. And then curriculum integration is using technology as a tool to supplement the learning in any of the core curricular subject areas, which we're happy that we've hit pretty much all of them across the schools. And then we have assessment that might be, whether it's formal or informal, it could be a reteaching or an enrichment or just a check-in. Google Classroom makes it really easy to do little quick exit tickets, or like Matt was saying, some of the tools that we do might have an assessment piece in there where the teacher can just do a quick check-in to see where the students are at. And then last but not least, we have professional development and PLC. So that 36% is really where our planning sessions are coming in. It's for the teacher's own professional development. I want to learn how to use this tool, so we'll come in. So that's what fits into that category. And then also in PLCs, we've sat down with grade level teams. And for example, a grade level team might say, okay, we're focusing on math. What are some things and ways that we can use the Chromebooks in our math block, and how can we differentiate with our different types of learners in the classroom?
And like Matt was talking about, we also gave teachers an opportunity to just give us feedback. Some of our big themes that we came across, like Sue was talking about, our teachers are now feeling more confident, and that can come from just using what they've been doing and then trying to increase what they've been doing as they go along. Also integrating, so like Sue was saying, it's not just an extra or an afterthought, it's part of what they're doing on a daily basis throughout the curriculum. And I think the support has become huge for them because they know that we are there to support them and back them up and coach them so they feel comfortable taking those risks. These were some of the quotes that we pulled from our data, and things that really stood out to us is that teachers feel like technology is that tool that allows for a better learning environment for students. So that last quote down there kind of correlates with that, in that you can have one specific goal for your classroom, but you can have many ways now to reach that goal. So students don't have to do everything the same with technology. It really broadens that. Also, with us regularly being in the building, Danielle and I have split it up with 5 schools apiece, so that way we can be in buildings once every 10 days. So teachers can plan a lesson with us, and then we can co-teach a lesson. We can come in and observe, and it's not a long time period that is between those visits. So the planning and the co-teaching is happening within a couple of weeks instead of once every couple of months, which is really nice. And then that extra support that's provided, like we were talking about, making teachers feel confident, making them feel supported, and having them know that we're there to back them up and answer questions and just be there for them to go on with their students.
When you look at the support that we're doing at the elementary middle level, so as Hannah and Danielle said a couple times, they each take 5 schools and they visit those 5 schools. But with Matt and Jack, they both go to both schools and support at both middle schools. And then our high school folks next year will do the same. Both of them will support both high schools and be in both high schools on a continual basis. They do not, yeah.
Go back and forth.
You're the yin to my yang.
Yeah.
For the 4 of us, these numbers represent all of us together. Although we do a lot of work in the classrooms, we also offer workshops and professional development opportunities outside of the classroom. So this year alone, we have 26 different workshops ranging from Google to WeVideo to district-supported initiatives like BrainPack and Newsella that all teachers have access to this year, which is a great resource for them. Through those 26 workshops, we've been able to connect with 420 professional staff members. And for each workshop that we give, we make sure to tailor that workshop to the audience. So whether it's office staff or counselors, specialists, administrators, we're making sure that the content we're giving is relevant to the students that they'll be impacting. And through that, we've been able to impact over 10,000 students, K through 12. Even though we're technically not high school technology integrators, if high school teachers want to come to workshops, we always welcome them and we always encourage them. If we have high school or middle school people reaching out to us, we always make sure to reach out back to them and invite them to come in, so that way everyone feels included and we're able to make sure that as many students as possible are impacted. Through a lot of those different professional development opportunities, this is just
Nobody.
Dan looks great.
This is just a quick video to show you some of the things that we've been doing. It's okay, you can still hear it. Bye.
Much earlier.
There we go.
Students learned how to order German and Austrian cuisine from a menu placed on a Google form.
The first time Danielle came in, we did a pathway. I realized how motivating it was for the kids. Jack and Matt have impacted the middle school setting.
Having students come to a classroom has helped kids get excited and anxious to the bathroom.
The problem solvers learn so much, and they learn more ways through research and presentations. So, that's what I learned. I love having a knowledge classroom.
And I've done many flipgrids. I'm kind of obsessed.
We've done research on Black History Month, plant wildlife, and so much more.
I think the use of technology made me more of a teacher because it additionally provides my students with a number of new ways to learn and communicate with themselves.
We use the social studies teachers conference. It teaches us how to use technology, and this is important as we go on. It will advance as we grow up.
I was also exposed to teacher learning communities where I could find lessons, activities, videos, and other materials to supplement my current lessons.
Some of the things we do in products include crisis, schedule, and book creation.
Jack and I worked together on another project, a seed project for the book Refugee, which was the global read-aloud book.
Some of our videos were nice to us and came and helped us make video games.
I learned how to edit a video to include German text.
The teachers helped us by using video for the fun projects we did.
Overall, I'm glad that they gave us the new technology opportunity to try more fun activities than before.
Brain Pop I use all the time. There's so many that are directly tied to the curriculum. Everyone had Danielle come into the classroom. She's the best.
Working with Anna though allowed me to integrate these with Google Classroom, Creator, Quizlet, and other applications into my instruction so seamlessly that it's difficult for me to imagine teaching without that.
Jack and Matt have both gone above and beyond to make sure that we're using technology appropriately, not in replacement for something.
So that's just a quick snapshot of some of the things that we do in the classroom every day. Additionally, we're all on Twitter, so to connect with our community a little bit better, we make sure that we post things, and it's also a great way for us to connect with people globally to find out what other schools are doing and how they're best using technology in the classroom. And thank you very much again for supporting us in our technology integration.
Any questions? Mrs. Marcel, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I really just wanted to compliment you on a wonderful job. The slides are really powerful, and I'm very supportive of what you guys are doing. And so I just wanted to thank you for all of your work, and appreciate you coming to present this evening.
Thank you.
No, and I'll second that. When teachers email a school director, it's usually a bad thing. I've gotten emails about all 4 of you, and it's not a bad thing, but what I'm hearing. So that tells me we're doing something right, and we're striking a chord for our staff, and that's important. So
Thank you.
Questions, comments? No, I agree with you, Dr. Thorward. I too have received emails that just sing your praises. And I hope you know from the colleagues that you work with how much you are valued. And while I've been out of the classroom for some years, and I'm not going back, I have to say, seeing your presentation, I so wish that I had had the opportunity to engage with something like this.
Thank you.
I think it's wonderful to see. I mean, the slides really capture just, the data of all the change that you see. I mean, when you look at, from year one with elementary to now with elementary, and just the significant change in usage and the confidence level. And, even just when you see things on Twitter, not even just following these folks, but all of our many teachers who also have Twitter accounts, that the things that they're doing in their classrooms and the things that the ways our kids are engaging, and, the ways they're acquiring knowledge is different. The ways that our students are demonstrating their learning is different. And the ways that they're applying that learning in different ways is changing because of, what they're learning and with technology, and how our teachers are able to incorporate that in really purposeful ways in instruction, that it's not just, what might have been for some of our folks at the beginning of this process of, okay, I've got this Chromebook, I got to come up with something to do, so let's just use it. To now, I need the Chromebook, and I want to use it for my kids because this is going to help my kids learn this better or apply this better. So it's been really great. I think, for me, the biggest piece is the complement of the two things together. So we've provided the tools for our teachers, and we've coupled that with providing that support. And I think, seeing the confidence that Hannah and Danielle shared that the elementary teachers have now, it shows that's been really beneficial. And you see already just with the 1 year at the middle school, there's a difference in how teachers are feeling. And, I know Matt and Jack and I talk about some of the teachers that we know that are are not your early adopters, who have embraced using technology, and actually, I would say, maybe try to monopolize some of their time, Matt and Jack's time. But it's amazing that, people who maybe might have come into this kicking and screaming are excited. And I think part of that is they see how much of a difference this makes for meaningful learning for kids. So it's a really good thing. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
I'll just thank you for coming out. And it really is great to see that you guys from, I think, in the beginning, when they were rare, there was almost 60%, and now you're looking at 14%. And it's going to continue to drop, so job well done.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to comment.
Please do.
I don't comment on every Twitter or every tweet that you girls do, ladies do, but you know that I watch everything that goes on. And as the current president of the PTO at Holland, you know the amount of Chromebooks we've invested in that school. I can honestly tell you, speaking, and I speak to the staff, we speak off the record. They run for me a little bit now, but I have a great relationship with the folks over there, and the kids are excited. Dan Smith, as crazy as he is, there was a time the first year we rolled the Chromebooks out that between him and Frank Murphy, they weren't leaving the classroom, which made us buy additional Chromebooks. And then it went to the next phase. Well, you're not getting them, go get your own. And then the school district ran out and did the 1, 2, and we just continued to buy and buy. And as of last week at the school board meeting, my colleagues approved $18,000 to go for more Chromebooks. I can honestly tell you there's one story, and I don't know if you know it. There was a young lady a couple years ago who was not very outspoken and very quiet in her class. She got introduced to the Chromebooks and became the star of the show. For me, that's the proving point. We can look at statistics all day. You change the kid's life, not you professionally, maybe you professionally, but that theory, that process has made that girl into a superstar student that there's quite possibly never would have happened. Technology is wonderful. I don't think we ever stop learning. And the problem, you know, that when we think that we're on the edge of it, we get it, changes too fast. And that concerns me. And as we move forward through, you know, budgets and everything else, I mean, I know what you guys have done and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're so proud with the teachers too. Like they did so many things last year and then so many new things popped up this year. And now they're willing to try and learn. And they say the same things about their students, like the quiet students that might be more shy and not willing to participate. They say that they love the Chromebooks because there's ways that they can see their students participating and reflecting on their learning in such a different light because they're able to do it in their own way.
And that'll never show up in a statistic.
Right. And that's
You know,
why
that's-
you
and
can see
that's-
it as soon as you walk out of class.
And that's a great thing.
And the
That's a
video
great
just captures, like, that is the reason why we do what we do.
And now that Flipgrid's free, it's even better. I mean, it's
Exactly.
it's amazing. I mean, think about it. 2 years ago, we wrote a check for Flipgrid.
Right.
And then I got reimbursed.
Yeah.
But that Flipgrid, I mean, my kids came up.
Yeah.
You gotta see what I did today.
We had students yesterday, ELL students that speak very little English. They created a Flipgrid in their language, and then all of their classmates were able to listen to that student read the story in their language, and it was awesome.
It's amazing.
It was
There you go.
BrainPop has the English language program too, which is helping a lot of our students. And a lot of the research projects that they're doing, they're able to translate it themselves on their Chromebook. And yeah, we have kids doing presentations in Russian.
Hebrew, Spanish.
Yeah.
Well, I know several times this year, and I'll cut it off after this. I actually had parents email me. They wanted the specs on the Chromebooks that we bought because they want to buy them for their kids at home.
Yeah.
So the parents are buying
I
it.
think it's like the #1 holiday gift.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's affordable. It's
Right.
great. I mean, you know, I'd like to get one myself. It's great. I mean, great job. Congratulations.
I
Really.
mean, we have 4 dynamic, amazing professionals here, and I'll say we have actually 6 because now we have our 2 high school folks. And, you know, the interview process that they went through to earn these positions, you know, they interviewed in front of their peers. And, you know, that's not always an easy thing to do. And, you know, really proved that they had the knowledge and the ability to support adult learners and understand the classroom and understand, you know, it's not just about knowing all about technology, it's about your ability to connect it to education and to teaching and learning. And these 4 and our 2 additions with the high school all have that in spades, and that's part of the reason why we've had such great success. And I mean, they're fantastic. I love meeting with them, hearing about things. I learn a lot from them as well to improve myself. So it's fantastic.
Well, at the risk of Dr. Elliott taking a swing at me, I'll use the soapbox one more time and just reiterate what I say all the time. I think these should be permanent positions, and I'll stand by that. So I think we need 2 in every grade level. So.
Oh, in every grade level?
No, elementary, middle.
Okay.
No. Yes, but no, we can't afford it. Yeah. Thanks.
Any further comment, question? And seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.